practiced all week, so the likely starter today is Cliff Stoudt. For the Browns, the story is simple. When they've turned the ball over, they've lost. Here's Brian Sipe throwing one of his 6 interceptions earlier this year at Pittsburgh. The Steeler linebacker Mike Merriweather will bring it back for a touchdown. And a week ago against Houston, costly turnovers. Mike Pruitt had a great game, 150 yards, 3 TDs, but also fumbled 3 times. It helped the Oilers to a win, which put the Cleveland Browns backs to the wall. Let's return to NFL 83 in New York.
Factor, they can only get in if Seattle and New England tie. Cleveland can get in if they beat Pittsburgh and Seattle and Buffalo lose. Now, if New England, Cleveland...
In a game played by an always changing cast of highly competitive men, it was almost unthinkable the way Jimmy Brown totally dominated the position of fullback for almost a decade. Drafted #1 out of Syracuse by the Cleveland Browns in 1957, he immediately led the league in rushing, as he would for 8 of the 9 years he played. He ran like no one else ever had, with a deceptive, seemingly effortless gliding motion, a thrust that propelled him through the line and into the open field. He had different speeds, different paces. Gears he could shift at will. And gang tackling was the only sure way to stop him. Incredibly, he averaged 104 yards a game over his entire career, rewriting the record book along the way. He was always different, always the same. A blend of all the essentials. Straightaway power, speed, balance, boldness, strength, stamina, and courage. He never missed a game. 2 simple statistics tell it all. In the history of professional football, no one has ever carried the ball for more yardage or scored more touchdowns than Jimmy Brown, Cleveland's perfect fullback.
On the final Sunday of the regular season, let's raise a toast to parity. I'm just not sure whether we're raising it to P-A-R-I-T-Y or P-A-R-O-D-Y. Speaking of spelling, there are a lot of teams this year that would fit right into a Woody Allen movie. The ones who would love to pull that bank robbery of the century, but always manage to misspell the threatening note to the teller. And we can laugh at them. But the fact is that most of us fans don't live in Washington or Dallas or Miami. We spent years treasuring the axiom that on any given Sunday, any horrible team could win. So we should be even happier now that on any given Monday, it can look like the day after for a contender. New England plays at Seattle today, and barring a glitch in the calculus that determines playoff berths, the winner will make the postseason tournament. The record will be 9-7. Is this the New England team that bowed meekly not once but twice to Baltimore and mailed in its efforts to Atlanta and Shea? Is this a Seattle club that managed to get blown out at St. Louis and needed a holding penalty to get by the Giants last week? Well, the answer is yes, but consider this. The winner gets to play another genuinely mediocre team from Denver. At least that wild card game figures to be close. The NFC plans to serve up some 9-7 team of its own from the West as a holiday treat for Dallas. Yes, this is the age of parity. The Cleveland Browns ride into Houston with a playoff spot at their mercy and bow to the 1-13 Oilers. The Rams have a chance to wrap things up at home and turn the ball over to the Patriots 7 times. Does this mean that teams should look for a Woody Allen as coach, a W.C. Fields as general manager? Should we spell parity with the O-D-Y after all? To do so, I think, would be to laugh away the dreams of millions. Without parity, would teams like Philadelphia, Cincinnati, and San Francisco have risen suddenly to Super Bowl stature and faded just as fast? That's the precarious beauty of the system. Anyone can hope that the Redskins will stumble someday, or that the Oilers, Bucks, or Giants will somehow, someday, get that bank robbery note spelled right.
A week ago in New York, after 2 quick touchdown passes against the Jets, Terry Bradshaw re-injures the throwing arm and has to leave the game. Enter Raja, the magical minor bird this week. He sits on the injured Bradshaw wing, but to no avail. Terry took no snaps in practice this week. He will not start today, so with the Steelers having a first-round bye in the playoffs, it means he will have 3 weeks of rest to get that arm back in shape for postseason competition. Back to Cliff Stoudt, who in relief of Bradshaw a week ago regained his form a bit and threw for a couple of touchdowns. He starts against the Browns in Cleveland today. And today's game is brought to you by Mazda, who invites you to experience the low-price Mazda B2000 Sundowner. By Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis, Brewers of Michelob. Some things speak for themselves. And by Denorex Shampoo. Help stop dandruff itch with an extra relief medicine. Denorex. Hi, everybody. Bob Costas with Bob Trumpy. About 20 degrees, no threat of snow, however, in Cleveland today. The playoff situation for the Steelers. They're already in and with a first-round bye. But if they win today and the Raiders lose against San Diego, it helps them in terms of home field advantage. Cleveland isn't concerned about home field. They just want to get into the postseason party. They'd have to win and hope things go right for them elsewhere to have a chance.
They've got to be very lucky today. And 3 weeks ago, they were in the catbird seat. They were 8-5, playing very well, and all of a sudden, things have fallen apart. This last game today, Brian Sipe, a lot of people feel it's his last as a Cleveland Brown with a contract the United States Football League coming up. He said he wants to go out with a bang.
Earlier this year in Pittsburgh, Sipe was intercepted 6 times by the Steelers. Pittsburgh won in a romp. They took the ball away from the Browns the first 3 times that Cleveland had possession. The game was over in the first quarter.
And for Cliff Stoudt, he grew up about 25 miles from here. He was a boyhood idol of all these Cleveland Browns, a chance to return and really impress the hometown folks today, Bob.
The Browns have won the toss, and Gary Anderson is getting set to kick off for Pittsburgh. This young man, a remarkable story. As we look at Chuck Noll in his 15th season as the head coach of the Steelers, and the 10th time in the last 12 years that they've made the playoffs. And Sam Rutigliano just hoping for a chance to make it into postseason. The best bet to win today, and then hope that New England wins at Seattle while Buffalo is losing against Atlanta. We'll try to unsort all the complicated playoff possibilities for you as the day progresses. Gary Anderson is going to the Pro Bowl as the AFC place kicker, the 3rd Steeler to win that designation, following Lou Michaels and Roy Girella. Dwight Walker fields the kick. And Walker, with a flag flying, is to the 35-yard line. Brian Sipe possibly in his final appearance in Cleveland. There is talk that next week he'll announce that he's going to the USFL's New Jersey Generals. Mike Pruitt, the Jekyll and Hyde act a week ago in Houston. 150 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 3 costly fumbles in the upset loss. Those designated in white are rookies, as you saw Boyce Green. 2 tight end set. Ozzie Newsome not going to the Pro Bowl, and that has caused some chagrin in Cleveland. Harry Holt had his best game as an NFL rookie a week ago. Adams and Logan are the wide receivers, and there's the offensive line.
Illegal block on a running back team. No number.
Well, it's always best if you're going to commit a penalty to conceal your number. At least that way you save yourself embarrassment. All those offensive linemen are veterans except for the second-year center, Mike Bahr. The ever-present illegal push in the back trump. What would a kick return be without it? First down, the give is to Boyce Green, who had the biggest game of his rookie season with 137 yards and 2 touchdowns earlier this year at Pittsburgh. 3-4 unit, 49 sacks, second in the AFC to the Raiders, 56 for Pittsburgh. The linebackers with Lambert going to the Pro Bowl for the 9th consecutive year. Merriweather had 2 interceptions earlier this season against Cleveland. Woodruff and the ageless Mel Blount are the corners. Shell and Woods are the safeties.
First play, you saw Pittsburgh on the blitz. And the last time these 2 teams met, that was a big weapon for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now they come with their pass rush set, 2nd and 11 yards.
In motion, Feacher. Sipe in trouble and sacked. Sack number 50 for Pittsburgh, and Mike Merriweather gets credit for it.
You can see the respect that the Cleveland Browns have at the outset for the Pittsburgh pass rush. A half roll, which is something Cleveland doesn't use a great deal of. 81, Harry Holt, you will not see him in the picture, was wide open. But because of the pressure from the outside, Sipe had no chance whatsoever to pick him out.
So now it becomes 3rd and 15. Merriweather filling some awfully big shoes, taking the place of the retired Jack Ham.
Look at those corners on the line of scrimmage.
Sipe unloads under pressure and incomplete in the direction of Ozzie Newsome.
One of the problems that Cleveland has is that their great receiver is Newsome on the inside, and when you put cornerbacks at the line of scrimmage against wide receivers, that puts even more pressure on the inside game. And Cleveland has to throw the ball to the outside somewhat today to get those DBs off the line of scrimmage.
You saw the figures on Gossett. Rick Woods awaits his punt, standing at the 42-yard line of Pittsburgh. The field is frozen in a few isolated spots, but generally speaking, it's in good shape. Good rush by the Steelers and a short kick from Gossett that then proceeds to take a Pittsburgh roll back to the 43-yard line of Cleveland. Just a 25-yard punt. And Cliff Stoudt leads the offense out. Franco is 49 yards away from 1,000, which would be a record-setting 8th time reaching that plateau. Sweeney, Hawthorne, and Cunningham are the targets. John Stallworth is out, but he will be back for the playoffs. And the offensive line, which has been shifted all season long because of various injuries, Larry Brown will not play today, but he will, like Stallworth, be ready for postseason competition. Franco Harris. And Franco gets about 3. He had 103 a week ago against the Jets, and early pleasantries are exchanged by Hanford Dixon and Calvin Sweeney. 3-4 unit, and in contrast to the Steelers, who have had a lot of sacks, Cleveland has managed just 26, the second lowest figure in the league. Atlanta has 25. That's the worst figure. The linebackers are the strength of the Cleveland defense. Banks is going to the Pro Bowl, the only Brown representative in the game. And the defensive backs are Johnson and Dixon at the corners, Scott and Whitwell at the safeties. 2nd and 7 from the 40-yard line of the Browns. And it will be Pollard. And Pollard is stopped after a gain of a yard at most.
Historically, this Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line, a great trapping line. Bob Golick, 79 on the nose of Mike Webster. These are two giants. Golick does a good job of at least getting Webster up out of his stance a little bit. Great quick hands and good hip strength to straighten up Mike Webster. That'll be a fight we'll witness all day long.
Four down linemen in now for Cleveland. Stoudt, who has completed 53% of his throws with 12 touchdowns but 20 interceptions, goes to the air for the first time. He'll scramble. There's the stick, and he got there for the first down. Stoudt has run for 450 yards, coming into today's game the highest rushing figure of any NFL quarterback.
And Bob, the Pittsburgh Steelers are the only team in the NFL to have rushed for more yards than they've passed for, and they also have 4 people who have rushed for 400 yards or better. Stoudt, of course, the low man on that totem pole, but this is a part of an offense that no defense can stop. A good scrambling quarterback who has the nerve to get out there and the size to take the hits.
From the 30-yard line now. 11:45 to play in the first quarter. Pollard. He gets 2, maybe 3. This is Pollard's 3rd start of the season. Usually he's come on in a reserve role, and despite that fact, he has over 600 yards. So when he's gotten his opportunities, he's performed well.
Also an exceptional blocking back as he goes off, holding his right arm rather gingerly. Certainly need him. In his place will be Walter Abercrombie. He's their big play guy, but Pollard is the personal escort for Franco Harris on a lot of the runs that the Pittsburgh Steelers feature in their offense.
2nd down 8 coming up. Hawthorne to the right and Sweeney to the left. Abercrombie. And Abercrombie slips a couple of tackles and gets the first down before going out of bounds inside the 20. Abercrombie is now rounding back into form after missing some time with a knee injury. As Bob Trumpy mentioned, he's the big play man. He scored 7 touchdowns this year.
Boy, this is a good pulling offensive line. Here's a missed tackle by Clarence Scott. Strong safety, and allows Abercrombie to get his legs and his hips turned upfield. Great speed out of Baylor.
Steelers began this drive at the Cleveland 43 after a short Jeff Gossett punt. Franco found the middle clogged up and took it back outside for a gain of about 5.
Want to see one of the large people in the NFL, Benny Cunningham. Bionic at times on Chip Banks. that misdirection that you see Harris on the inside then bouncing to the outside is something we've seen for a number of years with Franco Harris, and it certainly helps a blocker like Benny Cunningham.
Benny Cunningham just about the only familiar target for Steeler quarterbacks. Big turnover in their receiving corps. Abercrombie will be stopped for a loss. The charge was led by Clay Matthews, and then he had plenty of help.
Bob, I think we can see at the outset what the Cleveland Browns defense intends to do, and that is, on a previous play we had a strong safety blitz. Matthews this time 57 also on the blitz. There you see 51 Eddie Johnson. He comes to the outside to cover for the blitz, and they're going to try to get in the offensive backfield of the Steelers.
In a passing situation, it might be a good time to note there's Clay Matthews, who made that last play. Lynn Swann, of course, is retired. Jim Smith to the USFL, and John Stallworth has played in only 4 games all year with just 8 catches. So the likes of Greg Hawthorne, Greg Garrity, and Calvin Sweeney have played an important role. Here's Stoudt. He needs 8. And at the last moment, Cunningham had broken free, not by much, but he had gotten inside Lawrence Johnson. Stout's throw was just slightly off target, and they'll settle now for a Gary Anderson field goal try.
I like that by Cliff Stoudt, staying in the pocket. He has been accused of jumping out of there a little too quickly this season, but he looked like he was going to run, and then, well, I'll give it one more shot. He did have great protection, allowed him a lot of time to look down that field.
If Anderson misses this, it's an all-time upset from 35 yards. He's 26 of 30 for the year and has made 24 of his last 26. Bullseye. Anderson's personal point total is now 117. He leads the AFC in scoring. Got a bundle up today. 3-zip Steelers. Approach was kind of a breath of fresh air for several years. At least I thought so. But now, with the Browns struggling, there's criticism in Cleveland that Sam is too easygoing.
A couple, 3 years ago, it was his strength, and now people in Cleveland think it's his weakness.
The kick by Anderson is taken at the 6 by Boyce Green. And Green fights his way to about the 32-yard line. Back with a first down play right after we check with NFL 83 in New York for an update.
Thank you, Bob Costner.
So they'll add some yards, inadvertent 5 yards on the penalty.
Ben Dreif is the referee. Chuck Noll scoffed at the talk of a feud between him and Terry Bradshaw, and as soon as Terry came back to the Steeler camp, the two were joking and exchanging pleasantries. There had been a rumored feud between them as Terry, out of frustration, came up with some remarks. Look at this, wide open. It may go for 6 with Rocky Belk taking it in, and it does. 64 yards for the touchdown, but there's a flag down.
Personal foul against Pittsburgh. The touchdown will stand. You saw Donnie Shell 31 on the blitz, which means single coverage. And I have a feeling that was just confidence in Mel Blount that the defensive back would get to Brian Sipe, and therefore he's going to catch the receiver at 10 or 12 yards deep. Now watch from the left-hand side of the screen, 31. There he is. And watch how open Rocky Belk is. This is well thrown. You see Blount a good 7 yards behind Belk, and that'll keep Pittsburgh out of the blitz.
The rookie from Miami, Rocky Belk, with just his 5th reception of the year, his 2nd touchdown, and in one play, the Browns strike back, go in front 6-3, and here's Matt Bahr to try and make it 7. Out of Paul McDonald's hold. This one is off target, I believe, wide to the right. He missed it. He hasn't missed many all season. That could be costly. 6-3 Cleveland, 6:53 left in the first.
This RCA Color Track 2000.
Donnie Shell was called for a personal foul, wrapping Brian Sipe, and the yardage is walked off after the touchdown, so Cleveland will now kick off from the 50-yard line. Matt Bahr missing the PAT, just the 2nd he's missed in 37 attempts this year.
And Bob, Matt Bahr is taking the field. Generally, Cox is the kickoff man now with yardage added because of the penalty. You would expect, what, an onside kick here? Possibly.
Something to note, the next time the Browns have the ball, we'll be looking for Mike Pruitt. He has not been in from scrimmage yet. It's been Boyce Green along with Johnny Davis.
Yeah, Pruitt this week has had back spasms. It has nothing to do with his 3 fumbles last week in Houston. But I think it's a good idea they run 2 running backs. That offers them a little, just a little more pass protection for Sipe. Onside?
Could be. Well, they shift it and then they kick it deep. It's Henry Odom at the 5. Look out, a lane opens up, and it was Bahr who came down and made the tackle at the 20-yard line, and had he gotten past Bahr, he might have gone a long way, Trump.
Bob, it appeared that he tripped him. We'll watch once again. Very unusual to find a kicker down here so quickly, but watch Bahr's leg.
You're right.
He did. He tripped him.
Well, schoolyard play.
Any way you can get him on the ground. Bahr's not the biggest person out there you'll find on that kickoff team.
Trailing 6-3, the Steeler offense goes back to work. Abercrombie. Next to nothing for him.
A comment right here, that's Brian Sipe celebrating somewhat with that long pass completion to Rocky Belk, but the Cleveland defense playing right at the line of scrimmage, almost daring Cliff Stoudt to throw the ball down the field.
We mentioned that Sipe might be playing his last game for the Browns. Paul McDonald officially signed his contract this morning. There's been a lot of dickering over that contract. At first he'd agreed to it. They'd had a handshake, and then some problems cropped up. But they have McDonald under contract now for the next 4 years.
Whoops.
Elvis Franks came off, but he claims that he was drawn off.
No, but the offensive line is still up. And until they put their hand down, any movement is legal movement. It's pretty apparent right now both teams defensively are going to dare each other to throw it deep. Cleveland Brown defense right at the line of scrimmage. The same is true of the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive line.
It might have been Tunch Ilkin who moved. Let's see what Ben Dryth says.
But that's legal movement, Bob. Until he puts his hand down on the ground, he can do anything he wants. Once he puts it on the ground, he's held to that spot.
Encroachment, defense making contact, 94.
So that brings up 2nd down and 4 as the Cardinals trying to finish over 500. Dan Deerdorf's last game. They take a 7-0 lead, and Chicago does the same against Green Bay. Has anybody ever won 2 games in a row in the NFC Central? I don't think so. In the whole history of the division, I don't think it's ever happened. Franco. And cut down by Hanford Dixon. If Franco Harris gets the 50 yards or so he needs today to reach 1,000, it'll be the 8th time he's done it. That'll be an all-time record. Walter Payton did it for the 7th time in his career this year, and Jimmy Brown also did it 7 times in 9 seasons. There is some irony here with Harris playing in Cleveland, the site of Brown's many triumphs, and the comments that Brown has made lately.
Not to mention his number.
Franco has remained above that debate. Here he is. He'll get the first down. Franco to nearly the 35-yard line. With typical class, Franco has refused to be drawn in to any kind of public debate with Jimmy Brown. Instead, he simply said Brown is a great back, and it'll be an accomplishment to pass him, but I don't compare myself to him.
All right, this is the new wave of professional football. The Browns had 5 defensive backs, and at that point, offenses now, including the Pittsburgh Steelers, go to the run. And that's their favorite rush, that underneath handoff to the weak side of the formation. Harris has made a lot of those 11,000 yards on that single play.
On first down from the 34, he gets the call again and picks up about 3.
Same play again.
The last time, as you look at Franco's figures for the year, the last time the Steelers played Cleveland, Harris had just 38 yards in 15 carries.
Last night I asked Joe Gordon, when he came to Pittsburgh, did he want that number? And he said, no, actually he preferred having number 34, but at the time Andy Russell had that number, so it was just kind of given to him at 32.
Frank Pollard, we're told, who played the first series for Pittsburgh, went out with a thumb injury, and they're not sure yet whether he'll be back. 2nd and 7. Harris gets a block, skips out of bounds after picking up about 5. Eddie Johnson gets credit for the tackle.
All right, let's watch this sweep here to the weak side. What you'll see is they try to shut off penetration. You'll see Stoudt come back and Harris come underneath, and watch the pulling guard as he comes out here and just shields the defense. This is a play that Pittsburgh, that's the sweep to the other side, the most recent play. Well, we'll try it again to give you a diagram of that play.
Franco Harris gets short yardage, but that's just about all he needed. He's close to the first down. Generally, Franco has had good success against Cleveland. In 22 previous games during his career against the Browns, he's topped 100 yards 8 times and had 99 on another occasion.
And Bob, are you not impressed with Franco Harris's ability late in the season and on muddy fields and frozen fields throughout his career? He's a good stamper out there, a good mutter.
They got the first down at the 45-yard line. Abercrombie in motion. And it was in his direction, but played on the short hop and incomplete.
Cliff trying to be a little too fancy here. On that particular case, you got to gun that ball. Now watch what the motion does to the defense. You'll see that Abercrombie is outside the strong safety 22. And they got there with no one close. Cliff should have completed that one. He's mad at himself for that. That's as open as any receiver can get.
Cleveland with the 6-3 lead after the 64-yard scoring pass from Brian Sipe to Rocky Belk. The first play from scrimmage after a Gary Anderson field goal of 35 yards had given the Steelers the early lead. Stout's pass by Franco Harris. It'll be 3rd and 10 when we come back. But first, an update on the Kansas City-Denver game from New York.
Let's see, we got 2, 4, 5 6 defensive backs now for the Cleveland Browns. You see Mike Webster pointing out where various people are. Blitz.
They pick it up. Stout's in trouble, though, and down he goes. He had time initially as receivers were covered and dumped for a loss of 10.
Now what Cleveland is doing here is very sound. They're showing 6 defensive backs and using one of them as a linebacker on the blitz. And of course, anytime you put the 6th defensive back in, it messes up the pattern of the offense. Good job here by Cleveland. 4-man rush. You see the blitz on the inside, and it just shakes Stoudt enough that he can't find an open receiver.
So now Craig Colquitt to kick. His average is just over 42. Dino Hall at the 30. And smacked at the 38. A 34-yard punt by Colquitt. An 8-yard return by Dino Hall. The Browns have the ball back and the 6-3 lead. Give credit for the tackle to Craig Bingham of Pittsburgh. Snow hasn't started to fall yet, but it is seasonally cold in Cleveland.
It's very close to the lake. The weather changes here in a hurry. They were thinking about maybe 4 or 5 inches of snow here today, but luckily we have not got it. You saw Lauren Taves walk off the field there under his own power. He got a little banged up on that kickoff return.
And we look for Pruitt.
Make that a punt return, excuse me.
And don't find Pruitt. Boyce Green is the single setback.
Showing blitz.
Sipe's pass, a nice diving catch by Ricky Feacher. Feacher is at the 45-yard line of Pittsburgh with the first down. Brian Sipe has played 15 games prior to today against Pittsburgh. He's 2-13 in those 15 games.
16 yards on that catch. And let me make it even worse. In the last 2 games that Brian Sipe has played against Pittsburgh, he's thrown 12 interceptions. But very dissimilar to last week. The Browns are out here to try to win this game. They're not being very conservative. They're throwing it around. They didn't last week in Houston.
Boyce Green. And the rookie breaks some tackles and turns it into a 4-yard gain. The irony about last week's game in Houston, where fumbles did the Browns in. They had not lost a fumble as a team in 8 weeks, and Mike Pruitt hadn't lost one all season.
Watch Jack Lambert here. One of the problems of playing in the inside is you get contact from just about everywhere. He has led the team in tackles every year he's been a Steeler. And how about that, 9 straight seasons? I got a comment why Cousineau didn't make it. We'll get to it a little later on.
Those 9 Pro Bowl trips, a record for a linebacker. His ex-teammate Jack Ham had been 8 times. Lambert passes him this year. Here's Green for the first down to the 30-yard line. A gain of 12. A Ken Stabler touchdown pass has put New Orleans in front of the Rams 7-0. Both clubs hoping to make the playoffs. Atlanta leading Buffalo 3-0. That helps the Browns. And Green Bay moves back into a tie with Chicago in the first.
Bob, a comment on Boyce Green. His first start as a professional was against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, 137 yards. We've not seen Mike Pruitt yet today.
2:45 to play in the first quarter. Sipe pumps once, fires. Oh, a catch again by Ricky Feacher. And he has been the featured performer on this drive. First and goal at the 5.
25 yards on the catch. That was a beautifully thrown pass. Double rotation zone. That means the corners come up and the safeties rotate out. Obviously, Pittsburgh is going to pay more attention to Ozzie Newsome. Watch the pump fake. That's on the out. Oh, this is beautiful pictures. Watch how close this comes to Mel Blount, but it's just the right arch. And a big first down catch by Ricky Feacher. Good protection. This is the Pittsburgh. This is the zone that they want to play. Shell did not get out there far enough to affect the pass.
Green again, the single setback. The fake to him and Sipe rolling. In trouble and sacked.
Busted play.
Donnie Shell and Robin Cole did him in.
Bob, Brian Sipe appeared to get his foot caught underneath an offensive lineman. You'll see him right in front. The handoff is to go to Boyce Green. His left foot gets caught, and instead of trying to make the handoff, he takes the, it'll be counted, I believe, as a sack, right? Watch once again. Now, this is Ozzie Newsome on David Little, number 50. Shell right there to cover. That was a busted play. Meant to be a dive play to Boyce Green right up through the middle. An opportune time for that.
The spot is back at the 13 where it's second and goal. And now Sipe wants to come to the sideline to confer with Rutigliano. A crowd of better than 80,000 huddled in the cold.
Let's show the complexities of the game. Watch Brian Sipe's left foot and the left guard. They collide, and that's what causes Brian Sipe to be unable to get the handoff. Right on top of his foot. And Brian makes the right choice, too, when he's hung to the line of scrimmage there. Don't try to force it in. Brian's got to play with good judgment, and he has so far today.
The complexities of the game, apparently simple math, too complex for me. As we went to the commercial, I said they could go up by 13. They can reach 13,
It's
but
cold.
since the Steelers have 3, that would, I believe, put them in front by 10. From the 13-yard line. Into the end zone, and there's the touchdown.
We got a flag, though.
Is the ruling that he was out?
No. We got a flag at the line of scrimmage.
Harry Holt hauled in the pass. Let's see what Ben Drythe says. It's coming back. He may have been out anyway, Trump.
Well, this was well thrown once again. With the motion, you saw 3 receivers. Got to have both feet down. There's one.
He was out.
It looks like it. Good call by the official, but it's illegal procedure.
Illegal motion offense. 2 men moving at the same time. Decline a penalty. It's 3rd down.
That's certainly a no-no.
So now it becomes 3rd and goal from the 13. A minute and 14 seconds to play in the first quarter. Cleveland leads it 6-3.
This is without question the toughest part of the field to function in if you're an offense, Bob. The defense has the help of the end line of the end zone. They only have about 15 yards to cover. Let's see what they've got. 1, 2, 3, just 4 defensive backs. Pittsburgh with a straight defense here.
Sipe with the protection breaking down, throws for the end zone. Boyce Green will be out of bounds. So enter Matt Bahr.
Gary Dunn with the pressure on Sipe from up the middle, and it's rather unusual to find a nose man that gets around the quarterback as much as Gary Dunn does. There's a missed opportunity by Cleveland, but they didn't turn it over.
In a normal year, Matt Bahr might be headed for the Pro Bowl. He's hit 16 of his last 17, 20 of 23 overall. But others in his conference, like Anderson of Pittsburgh and Allegre of Baltimore, have been equally outstanding. Bahr connects, and Cleveland extends their lead to 9-3 with a minute and 4 seconds to play in the first quarter.
Thing taped up, he can barely move his foot forward with that square-toed shoe.
He's the kickoff man and designated long field goal kicker. He had a 58-yarder a couple of weeks ago at Denver. Odom inside the 5. To the outside, a flag goes down, and so does Odom at the 25-yard line. Coming up next, the second half of our NFL doubleheader on the final weekend of the regular season. Either the Raiders and the Chargers or the Patriots and the Seahawks battling for a spot in the playoffs.
First drive, Pittsburgh had great field position. Since then, they've had terrible field position here, Bob, in the first quarter. And this doesn't help. That's a block below the knees on the kickoff return. Major penalty.
Sets them back to the 12-yard line. I'd like to see a stat on what percentage of punts and kickoffs this year have involved penalties. 3 of the 4 kicks so far in this game have had flags thrown. That ball is well thrown to Hawthorne.
Great catch, too.
Maybe he could get up and run, but the contact had been made across the 20-yard line.
When you look at this, you say Stoudt threw it into the ground, but actually, to avoid interception, when you throw the ball to the middle of the field, you want to keep it low. You don't want the ball bouncing off people and into the hands of your opponent. This is a good catch by Hawthorne. He's 6'2 and a half. Going down that far for the football, that's an outstanding catch.
Second down and a short 2. Franco Harris appears to have the first down.
One of the tacklers there is Tom Cousineau. Let me make this comment. We talked about Jack Lambert, and there are people here in Cleveland who feel that Cousineau played well enough to make the Pro Bowl. But he's got to live up to that $700,000 a year salary, not only to the fans, but to the other players in the NFL who watch him weekly on film. He'll never make it.
That's the end of the first quarter. 9-3 Browns.
Introduce.
We get word that the folks at the NFL offices in New York heard my question, called our producer George Finkel with an answer. They say that only about 1 in every 10 punts and kickoffs features a penalty, but I find that hard to believe. I don't question it, but it just seems like more, doesn't it, Trump?
Yes, it does.
Especially this year.
I agree with you.
That illegal push in the back seems to be called 4 or 5 times a game. Here's the pitch to Franco. First play of the second quarter. Hanford Dixon made the tackle on the play.
Now, this is a weak side sweep, which is not something that Pittsburgh generally features, but watch these offensive linemen pull out. Watch what they're trying to do. And also watch Cousineau as he gets out there, and also these linebackers to get out there and just try to string the play out. Make Franco Harris run to the sideline. Johnson, 51, Cousineau, 50. Just try to slow him up, use the sideline. Still got the speed to get out there, though, Franco does.
He's carried 9 times today for 35 yards. Stoudt, lots of time, firing, and intercepted. picked off by Al Gross. And Gross is to the 34-yard line. What Stoudt did not see was that Greg Hawthorne was wide open from here to Pittsburgh along the right sideline.
Yeah, but he was the initial receiver, Hawthorne. What happened was there was good pressure on him over there. Then he broke open. I don't think Stoudt ever saw Gross. Abercrombie was open for a second. Big turnover. A lot of times people wonder what a free safety does. Well, he plays center field, just stands back there, reads the eyes of the quarterback. And in this case, the ball was almost tipped by Clarence Scott, but Al Gross there with the interception.
A rookie from Arizona, 9th-round Cowboy pick. Couldn't make their club, now with Cleveland. First interception of his NFL career.
Now, you know what every Cleveland Brown fan is saying? Why couldn't they have played like this last week? Then this game would have meant a great deal.
Very few clubs have been consistent in the entire league this year.
You're right.
You got 4 or 5 good teams and a whole group of others who are close to that 8-8 category. Boyce Green to the 25-yard line for a gain of 9. Robin Cole finally stopped him a yard shy of the first down.
Cleveland is doing an outstanding job of running right at the strength of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. At Jack Lambert, Gary Dunn, there's Chuck Noll. I think he knows the concern. Green now 4 carries, 22 yards, and most of those been right up the middle.
Chuck Noll's team held the Jets to just 38 yards on the ground for the entire game last week. Freeman McNeil just 34 yards on 16 carries, but the Browns have had better success than that in the first half. 13:25 to play until halftime. 9-3 Cleveland. Walker, look out for the pass. He was thinking about it. Now he tucks it in and barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. Dwayne Woodruff wrapped him up. The Rams come up with either a safety or a 2-run homer and trail 7-2. Atlanta lengthens the lead on Buffalo. Buffalo's playoff chance is virtually nil, but if they lose, it uncomplicates things considerably with regard to the tiebreakers and helps the Browns. Kansas City dealing Denver potentially harmful blow. They could lose home field if things break a certain way. Cardinals continue to lead Philadelphia. St. Louis got hot after it was too late. They'll fall just short of the playoffs. Green Bay and Chicago remain tied.
Mike Pruitt in the ball game with Boyce Green in this short yardage play.
Pruitt's first appearance. He carries and he gets the first down. He's to the 19-yard line.
Very tough running by Mike Pruitt, who of course last week his performance basically a wash. 3 touchdowns and 3 fumbles, 150 yards, and he's trying to atone for that performance last week. This is one good thing about Mike Pruitt. He is a tough running back. Watch him carry people, break tackles, fight and scrap for every inch he possibly can. So were the 3 fumbles.
As we mentioned earlier, he had not lost one all season, then 3 last week. Bothered by a bad back. This is the first series he's played. Sipe almost missed the connection, but Pruitt knew what to do with it when he got it. And he gets 7, maybe 8.
Strangely, that was the same situation that they had down here on the goal line. It appeared that the left guard, Jackson, got his feet tangled up with Brian Sipe. That particular time, though, able to get the ball to Mike Pruitt. Now watch right in front of Jack Lambert. That's the center this time, Mike Babb. Pruitt, a good little nifty move there at the line of scrimmage to get by 67 Gary Dunn, who manhandled the center, Mike Babb.
David Little makes the tackle, one of their reserve linebackers. Their high regard for his potential led them to deal Dirt Winston to New Orleans, open up a spot for Little. Second down to Pruitt. First down Cleveland, it appears. Pruitt came into today's game with 1,141 for the season. And he has also just passed 6,000 yards for his career with that carry. First and goal at the 8. .10:20 to play until halftime. 9-3 Cleveland. Pruitt. You find this curious at all, Trump? Gain of about 1. He doesn't play at all, and then when he does enter the game, he becomes the workhorse on the whole drive.
I can't answer why Sam Rosigliano would do that, except that with the performance last week, Mike Pruitt was the one person in the Cleveland Browns that was probably down more than anybody else. Last week against Houston, a game they had to win, and maybe if you give him a quarter to stand on the sideline and kind of get into the ball game, it's going to help him.
That's misleading because Cleveland has not put the ball in the end zone as often as their total yardage figure would indicate. Motion along the line. Flag goes down. Pruitt stopped at the 5, but let's see what the call will be.
It's going to be encroachment again by the defense. So it'll get a half the distance to the goal. Now, how do you figure this? For the last 2 weeks, Cleveland has just been out there like they're in a trance, and today they are here to play. There's certainly evidence to support my last statement.
Defense, offside, 67.
Nose tackle, Gary Dunn. One thing coaches can never do, and that's figure out 49 players and how they're going to play prior to the football game.
Well, the Browns shut out Tampa Bay and New England back-to-back, beat Baltimore, and then proceeded to lose to Denver, and even more depressingly from their standpoint to Houston last week.
Yes.
Had they beaten Houston last week, a win today would have given them a wild card no matter what happened anywhere else. Now they've got to win and watch the scoreboard. Johnny Davis joins Pruitt. The fake. The lob to the end zone. Harry Holt will speed in. They were. Touchdown. He was looking around trying to devise a spike strategy and finally said, oh, what the heck, I'll just drop it right here.
There's no unique spike left. Sipe with good play action to Pruitt. Johnny Davis on the block. Well thrown once again by Brian Sipe. Good arch. Put some air underneath it. Let's Holt run under it. And yes, I've been here before.
Matt Bahr, who missed the earlier point after drills this one through. The touchdown was Holt's second. This is his rookie NFL season, but he's an experienced player. He starred in the Canadian League for several years before coming to the National Football League. 16-3 Browns with 9:20 to play in the half.
This is a great pass by Brian Sipe, but also give credit to Harry Holt. He realizes where the end zone line is, and in Canada, that end zone is 25 yards deep. Good sense for where the end line is by Harry Holt, and a touchdown.
Sipe's second TD throw earlier, 64 yards to Rocky Belk. Cox's kickoff bounces out of bounds, and it will cost them 5. The playoff picture again. Try to make it as simple as possible.
Please.
Pittsburgh, New England, they're in no matter what the Browns do today.
You are finished?
Thankfully,
okay.
yes.
You missed the therefore. There should have been a therefore in all of that. Or ergo.
Ipso facto.
Ipso facto, yes.
Whereas 9:16 to play. Cox now kicks off from the 30. His kickoffs have not been deep. It's Harris at the 20-yard line. And he gets back to about the 30. Dwight Walker made the tackle. As we tell you that today's game is brought to you by Chevrolet, official cars and trucks of the 14th Olympic Winter Games. Chevrolet and you taking charge. By Allstate, we insure your home, your car, your health, your business, and your life. You're in good hands with Allstate. And by Visa cards and traveler's checks. You can do it. We'd like to help. Bob Costas and Bob Trumpy in Cleveland, where the Browns lead the Steelers 16-3. From the 29-yard line, Stoudt will throw on first down, and he'll complete it to Hawthorne. Hawthorne at midfield, a gain of 21.
Entirely too much cushion by Lawrence Johnson. Hawthorne is a guy with great speed, great ability, great size. and he has to be respected deep. But Johnson gave him too much of a cushion there. Single coverage.
Sweeney to the left and Hawthorne to the right. Abercrombie is in. Pollard left early in the game, injured thumb, and this is Abercrombie who carries, and he gets outside for a first down.
There's that weak side sweep. Clarence Scott getting him out of bounds, 12 yards on the carry. And Art Modell looking fit and trim, owner of the Cleveland Browns. That weak side sweep, watch what happens. Weak side guard pulls. Franco Harris with a good block on Chip Banks, and there's just a little lane there for Abercrombie to run, and with his speed, that's a quick first down.
Stoudt again. Sweeney tried to turn around and come back for it, but it falls incomplete. With Stallworth hurt, Swan and Smith gone, Sweeney is the top receiver this year for Pittsburgh. He's caught 38, 5 of them for touchdowns.
Watch part of the confusion that the offense has. You'll watch Bob Golick, the nose tackle, go all the way around here. See the blitz inside by Matthews and Franks? It really creates a problem, and Golick does get in there almost and hurries the throw by Stoudt. Tough to run stunts from a three-man front if you don't have a nose man with some decent speed. He can't get outside that tackle and be in the quarterback's face. Showing blitz.
Here's Franco. And we'll give him about 3, which will bring up 3rd and 7. Clay Matthews on the stop.
About 3 of the 4 linebackers of the Cleveland Browns in there. Saw Cousineau on the blitz, Eddie Johnson in pursuit, and Clay Matthews with the tackle, along with Chip Banks. There's 4 guys that can play for anybody.
7:50 to play, second quarter.
Let's see what we got here. 2, 4, 5 defensive backs by Cleveland.
Rolls away from the pressure, keeps it, gets the first down, and slides in safely at the 24.
Give a good block to the official. Got in the way of one of the linebackers, and it freed Cliff Stoudt. See Lawrence Johnson on the inside. Good coverage by Cleveland down the field. But there's that little alley that Stoudt has, and he's not afraid to run the football. There's Matthews. And watch once again the defensive alignment. See corners up at the line of scrimmage trying to harass the receivers as best they can. Cunningham down through the middle, but they were all covered.
13 yards for the leading rusher among NFL quarterbacks. He's close to 500 yards for the season. A first down throw, a wobbler, and incomplete over Sweeney's head with Dixon on the coverage. Let's pause here briefly for station identification on the NBC television network.
This is WXFL, Channel 8, Tampa, St. Petersburg.
Cleveland clinging to their playoff lives and leading 16-3 over the Steelers with 6:41 to play in the first half. And Pittsburgh on the march at the Browns' 24. 2nd and 10. Stout's throw is caught by Hawthorne. It's going to be 1st and goal Pittsburgh as he gets down to the 7.
Interesting defense by Cleveland, but it didn't work. Bob Golick drops out of the line of scrimmage. Number 79 is in coverage. Hawthorne just a little delay. He's wide open. There you see Golick just to the right of your screen, right in front of him. 255-pound nose tackle back in coverage. Rather surprising, wouldn't you say?
Franco moves it inside the 5. Harris is looking for the 100th touchdown of his glorious career. He is 4th on the all-time touchdown list, passing Jim Taylor this season. Next ahead, Don Hudson, the legendary Green Bay Packer receiver, who has 105. Jimmy Brown, of course, leads the list, 126.
You know, I've always liked about Franco, no matter what the Pittsburgh Steelers have needed out of Franco Harris, he has done. Catch it for a touchdown, get the tough yards, break a tackle, run outside. Throughout his career, he's done everything that the Pittsburgh Steelers have asked him to do.
From the 4-yard line, Stoudt rolls. Can he get there? Touchdown, Pittsburgh.
I'll tell you what, the Browns came with a blitz. Clay Matthews from the outside. Watch him, top of your screen, and that's exactly where Stoudt runs. There's no one there to make the tackle.
Cliff Stoudt, who had season tickets, used to sit in the bleachers with his sister here in Cleveland from the time he was 10 years old until he went off to college at Youngstown State. Thrilled to be playing in this stadium. He had a 300-yard passing game the last time he started a game for the Steelers here against the Browns. Anderson adds the extra point, and now the miss earlier by Matt Bahr could become a factor. The Steelers moved to within 6 at 16-10 on the scoring run by Stoudt with 5:07 to play in the first half. Well, now let's try to figure this out. The Bradshaw figure actually does look a little bit like me, but which one is you of the big guys, 56 or 50?
I'll be either one. How long did it take you to make that sign? Top billing, I noticed.
It's just done alphabetically, Trump.
Sure.
Console yourself. Anderson's kick, fielded by Dwight Walker. And a good return out near the 35. 24-yard run back by Walker. Anderson was cut by Buffalo a year ago, amazingly enough. And he is the only player on the roster of the Steelers who was not an original free agent or drafted by the Pittsburgh club. What a pickup he's been, going to the Pro Bowl for them. There are the figures on the Pittsburgh scoring drive, which brings them to within 6 at 16-10.
I noticed the cornerbacks now for the Pittsburgh Steelers are 33 Harvey Clayton, 41 Sam Washington. Blunt and Woodruff out of the game.
Pruitt not in. Boyce Green and Johnny Davis are. Sipe firing long. He wants Feacher in between two defenders and broken up by Johnson.
This may be very telling. I think the Steelers are making sure that their players are healthy, taking Blunt and Woodruff out of the ball game. Good job here by Feacher to make sure there's no interception.
During the 3-game Steeler losing streak, which they ended last week by beating the Jets, it wasn't just their offense that bogged down. Some of the great performances they were getting defensively also disappeared. Through the first 10 games of the year, the Steeler defense produced 7 touchdowns with fumble and interception runbacks. None in the last 5 games.
Yeah. Notice Blunt back in the ball game. Showing blitz.
A pump. A second time, and now a completion to Green. Boyce Green, nice spinning move, and he's down to the 32. Who's got the ball? Pittsburgh thinks they do. The officials haven't said.
He's going to say he was on the ground.
Oh, I wouldn't want to have Jack Lambert staring me in the face.
Oh, we got another official who says no. It was a fumble. Gave the ball to Pittsburgh.
So Green with a nice catch and run that covers 34 yards. Then he coughs it up, and Pittsburgh does have it back.
Now, this is a correct call, too. This ball is out before Boyce Green hits the ground. Let's see if we can pick it up. Shell.
Correct, Trump.
That ball is loose. Good call by the officials. Who makes the contact from the right? 33.
Harvey Clayton.
Harvey Clayton. That's a good call by the officials.
Bob Costas back along with Bob Trumpy. It's a little bit chilly today in Cleveland, but I've seen a whole lot worse along the shores of Lake Erie.
Yeah, Bob, I'll tell you, too, if you're a player out there, the worst position to be in is not playing today. As long as you're out there on the field, you can generate some heat, and it's not too uncomfortable at this kind of temperature. But for us sitting up here and for the players standing down on the field, this is going to be a very biting cold.
after the fumble recovery, Stoudt goes back to work and hands to Franco. Nice move to the outside. A flag goes down. He tried to use Sweeney's block with the stutter step. Let's see what the call will be.
Here we go again. They bill this as the Blue Collar Bowl, and these two teams don't like each other. I think 19 out of the last 21 meetings between these two teams in Cleveland have been sellouts.
And that means better than 80,000.
Yes, it does. Cleveland doesn't want to come apart here at the seams now. They've played very well to this point in the football game. They've got to keep their heads and think about what they want to accomplish here. Don't lose your cool. He played very well to this point. But it does appear that Pittsburgh is feeling their oats right now, getting a little something going.
The Steelers have played well, Trump, away from home. They're 6-1 on the road, and for a team that has been over the past decade plus very dominant at Three River Stadium, surprisingly they're just 500. They're 4-4 on their home field this year.
Last time we had Pittsburgh, Bob, I made the comment that I thought Chuck Noll should be the coach of the year in the NFL. He's never had that distinction before. I stay with that comment. With all the injuries that Pittsburgh has had, he has done a marvelous job of keeping this team competitive. And they win the AFC Central.
Illegal use of hands, number 27. Personal foul on each team. We're going to play it over.
Watch to the left-hand side of the screen. Al Gross, 31. Skansky, 85.
Not Sweeney.
Excuse me, Sweeney, 85. And someone comes off the bench.
The Caped Crusader.
Yes. Now, well, I won't make the comment, but
Oh, go ahead, make the comment, Trump.
Well, they keep trying to make things even now in the NFL. It seems to me that there should be a penalty on one team or the other in that situation.
It's a do-over, as we used to say in the playground, and Franco Harris picks up a couple.
A do-over.
There's the time remaining. We wind down toward 4 minutes. An update on the Kansas City game. Let's go to New York.
Thank you, Bob Costas. Denver is going to want a do-over after this one. Theodis Brown, he'll take the handoff from Bill Kenny. He plunges in. It's now 28-3. Kansas City over Denver. That hurts them for the home field site. Back to you.
Wow. So the Broncos beat the Browns. They rally to beat the Colts. And they go in the tank against Kansas City. Stoudt, under some pressure, finds Hawthorne. And Hawthorne is stopped by a combination of Gross and Johnson.
Great play by Cliff Stoudt. And that'll accomplish a couple of things. One, certainly add to his stats. And two, it'll take Cleveland out of that blitz. You saw an all-out blitz there by the strong safety. Stout was able to get away and make a completion. You would, let me make one other comment. You would expect tighter coverage with the cornerback on the wide receiver if there is a blitz on the inside. There was a big cushion on Hawthorne on that play.
Terry Bradshaw, elbow surgery in early March. First they thought he'd be back at midseason. Then it looked like he wouldn't return at all. A heroic performance for one quarter a week ago against the Jets. Stoudt right on the money. Calvin Sweeney makes the catch, and there's a flag down on the play. It's a gain of 12 to the 43 if the play holds up.
That's in the spot holding? Yes. So easy to pick out when that just the location of the flag. Pittsburgh has started slow, but they're getting up to speed now, Bob.
Holding offense, number 32.
Franco Harris is the guilty party. 2:46 to play in the second quarter. Cleveland leads it 16-10. You see Hawthorne a moment ago, after he had tangled with Al Gross on the previous play. You might have noticed that after Gross tackled him following a Hawthorne reception, Hawthorne, to show there were no hard feelings, gave him a pat on the back and said, let's go from here with a clean slate, buddy.
That's nice.
Since the Sweeney catch was erased by the penalty, no Steeler other than Hawthorne has caught a pass today. Hawthorne has 5. Stoudt is sacked. Elvis Franks and Reggie Camp, the rookie from California, do the honors.
I think if there's one thing that you can accuse Cliff Stoudt of, or if he has a weakness, he doesn't really see the field very well. You see him out there looking rather panicked at times. Other quarterbacks can snap their head around and see the field very, very well. And Bradshaw has been outstanding throughout his career, looking to the secondary receiver. Cliff doesn't seem to have that ability, or at least he hasn't nurtured that ability yet.
Now they face 2nd and 21. And they want to talk about it. One thing Stoudt has been gracious under pressure. He's had his ups and downs this season, but he's kept a sense of humor. He played badly a few weeks ago at home against Cincinnati. They asked him what he planned to do after the game. He said, "I'd like to go home, watch a videotape, and boo myself." What's the call, Trump?
Well, they called a timeout to the umpire. The referee didn't realize it was going to mark off 5 yards for delay of game. So it's a timeout, Pittsburgh.
With 2:08 to play in the half. In the last 10 years, in the final game of the regular season was in 1980, the year they were divisional champions, when they beat Cincinnati 27-24 to clinch their title in the AFC Central.
Bob Cleveland right here with 4-man defensive front.
Stoudt well protected.
Oh!
Nearly intercepted. Somebody got a hand on it near the line of scrimmage. Might have been
Chip Banks.
Yeah, Chip Banks.
They had a 4-man front, but one of them was Chip Banks on the inside. Just disruptive at the line of scrimmage. Much at the right-hand side of your picture. Banks is able to somehow get his hands up. Webster on him. You see him right there in front. Great reaction. That kid is a heck of an athlete, Chip Banks is. He's a dandy. He's a keeper.
2 years in the league, 2 Pro Bowl trips.
He's amazing. He does some things that, for his lack of experience, you're not supposed to do.
They need 21 on 3rd down. And this is going to be close, but not quite. With the catch made by Greg Garrity. Garrity recorded his first NFL touchdown on a pass in the first quarter from Terry Bradshaw a week ago against the Jets. This will leave them 4th and about 2, and the 2-minute warning arrives. There are the Pro Bowl players for this season in the game today, and the number in parentheses, the number of times that they've been selected to the Pro Bowl squad. Lambert, 9 consecutive years.
How can Ozzie Newsome not be on that list?
Well, they went with Todd Christensen and Kellen Winslow. Newsome has 85 catches coming into today's game to lead the league. Christensen 84 and Winslow 83.
They're going for it. 4th and 1. 4th and 2.
Just under 2 minutes to play in the half. 16-10 Cleveland.
Now, why wouldn't you try to draw the defense off sides here and not run a play?
Franco is stopped for a loss in the grasp of Bob Golick. So now it's Cleveland ball near midfield with plenty of time to try and add to their 16-10 lead.
Watch once again, left-hand side of your screen. Franco never gets going. You see Golick behind Corson, 77, there to make the tackle. That's a great individual effort by Bob Golick. Outstanding.
Golick matched against Mike Webster in an outstanding battle today. He says earlier this year in Pittsburgh, first play from scrimmage, he came to the line and he said, "I was all psyched up. I was ready to go." And the first thing Webster said to me was, "Hi, Bob. How you doing? How you feeling?" And I answered, "Fine, Mike. How are you?" And that took the edge off from me, and he pushed me all over the field all day. So I'm not talking to him today. I'm coming in snarling, and I'm staying that way.
Can't trust veterans. Just can't trust them.
Each team has 2 timeouts remaining. Boyce Green and the rookie from Carson Newman sheds tacklers and moves inside the 35. A gain of 12.
Plenty of time. And the Steelers that time were in 6 defensive backs. Only one backer in the middle. There you see it again. Jack Lambert now. Hurry up offense by Cleveland. You see the one backer in the middle?
Time the catch is made near the 30-yard line, and Sipe does want a timeout. I was wrong on the spot earlier. I said he had moved inside the 35. They spotted it just inside the 40. My mistake. That catch was made by Bobby Jones, his first of the day. Don't forget, next week, the wild card round of the playoffs, the AFC wild card game. Denver is in, maybe not at home. New England, Seattle, Cleveland, and if you really want to split hairs, possibly Buffalo would be their opponent. For Buffalo to be in, they'd have to come from behind, beat Atlanta, hope Cleveland loses, and New England and Seattle tie. Good luck. Let's get an update on that Buffalo game against the Falcons as we return to New York.
Thank you, Bob. Big story for Browns fans. They know the combinations. William Andrews scores for the Falcons, so Atlanta's up 17-0. That helps Cleveland. We'll have all the scores and highlights at halftime. Back to you.
All right, the ball is spotted just outside the 30-yard line. We're at 2nd down and 2 for Cleveland. They have 1 timeout left.
2, 4. 5 defensive backs by Pittsburgh.
They give it to Boyce Green. He's close to the first down. Depends upon where they spot it.
Plenty of time left. 1:04. No reason to panic here for Cleveland. Pittsburgh's got the defensive people in there that they want for those last 55 seconds. Now he takes a timeout. Huh. Gee whiz, that's rather surprising. He just went to the sideline. They did not change defensive personnel, and he didn't like something. You don't want to waste timeout.
And he will announce that he's USFL bound. It isn't like the Browns are letting him go willingly. They've made him a substantial offer. They say a 4-year deal for about $500,000 a year, but they won't guarantee the full contract. And evidently the New Jersey Generals, anxious to gain some credibility for themselves and their new league, will. Green tries to go outside for the first down and gets it. Boyce Green also gets out of bounds to stop the clock.
Mind games in the last 2 minutes of this half. The Pittsburgh Steelers expecting to pass, the Cleveland Browns coming with the run. Give most of the credit to Boyce Green on that particular play. He was in the grasp there a couple of times, but still came up with the first down and got out of bounds. 7 carries now, 43 yards for Green.
48 seconds remaining in the half.
5 defensive backs. 4-man rush. 2 linebackers by the Steelers.
Sipe well protected. Wants 6 for Bobby Jones, but it's incomplete. He was sandwiched by Shell and Clayton.
There's only one guy that had double coverage down the field. That was Bobby Jones. Rather surprising that Brian would try to force that in there. You see it once again. Shell on the inside, Clayton on the outside.
Sipe, with his 2 TD throws today, has 24 for the year, 1 more than he has had intercepted. He and this entire team have been in and out all season, almost alternately outstanding and atrocious.
4 receivers in the ball game now by Pittsburgh.
2nd and 10. Sipe escapes and takes off. Out of bounds at the 16. 32 seconds left. And it'll be 3rd and 5.
Watch this. Number 83 of the Cleveland Browns. Top of the screen. This is to the right-hand side of the field now. He gets around Woodruff. Someone blows coverage. Watch this. Mail it to me. Get it to me somehow. Hello out there. I'm open. But Sipe was running the other way. You need a left-handed quarterback to get that one there.
Paul McDonald.
A candidate, yes. defensive backs now once again by Pittsburgh.
Sipe has time, but not a receiver yet, and incomplete.
Now I'll tell you what, they just threw a flag on Keith Willis for, oh, did the Browns get lucky there? Keith Gary, personal foul. A shot to the head on Brian Sipe. But you got to go back to the play. The Cleveland Browns receivers, they stopped dead in their tracks. They gave Brian Sipe nobody to throw it to. When the quarterback goes to scrambling, you got to get out of there. Now let's watch Keith Gary. 92. He's in front of Deacon and Jackson. And it's illegal for any player to go to an opponent's head. Right hand. Keep it going. Keep it going.
Personal foul, roughing the passer on the defense. That's a first down.
Here's Feacher again. Appears to be open. I don't know about that penalty. That was very close. I realize the officials are out there to protect the quarterback, but oh, they're making it tough.
Sometimes it's worked the other way. In their zeal to protect quarterbacks this season, we've seen whistles blown when quarterbacks were barely in the grasp of defenders, and it's cost the offense some yardage when plays were completed that could have given them first downs and were called back.
I don't know if you can blame the officials. I think that's just the way the rule is written.
That's the league directive, and they're just following it. First and goal from the 8 with 25 seconds. And second and goal.
Pittsburgh had 7 guys back in coverage. 4 men rushing Brian Sipe.
Cleveland leading it 16-10. Since 1970, Pittsburgh has won 20 and lost 6 against the Browns, including a 44-17 victory at Pittsburgh this season. Cleveland has never won at Three Rivers Stadium. They have on occasion in recent years been able to defeat the Steelers here.
They got to throw it here with just 20 seconds and no timeouts. And I do believe Pittsburgh realizes that. Whoa!
Flags. Into the end zone. Dave Logan can't hold it. And let's see what the calls will be. 14 seconds left.
And Feacher was open again. In the corner of the end zone, the right corner of the end zone. Offsides. Pittsburgh, half the distance to the goal. Down remains the same. And as I said earlier, this is the toughest part of the field to function in for an offense. And of course, Cleveland, with no timeouts, they're taking a heck of a chance if they run the ball at any point.
So I guess you can safely say they won't.
Well, you never know. This is a guessing game.
It is second down rather than third down. Disregard what you saw there a moment ago on the screen. Second and goal from the 4-yard line. Sipe throws it away. He was thinking about avoiding the sack with 8 seconds to go.
Logan was the intended receiver. They're trying to run a delay. He's saying one more play. Give me one more play. I'll get it in. Joe D. taking a stab at either Keith Gary or Keith Willis.
And now Mr. DeLamalure discussing it with Ben Dreith. And Dreith, I think, is concerned about keeping this thing under control, and that's why he's stating his case in no uncertain terms. There have been a couple of near altercations already, and he's trying to get it back in control, get these guys concentrating on football only.
Sipe now 6 of 12, 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he's orchestrating out there, drawing plays in the dirt. I look for Newsom out here in the flat, Bob, bottom of your screen, second receiver inside.
Sipe has to look back to his right and then throw. Touchdown.
Finally.
Well, Ricky Feacher got open enough during this drive to have scored 4 times, so it's only poetic justice that he gets the touchdown.
Apparently, he gets no respect from Brian Sipe. We've seen this a couple of times. Sipe is looking to his left. Obviously, Feature is the outlet receiver. Woodruff 49 in front. Again, a good arch on that football. Well thrown by Brian Sipe.
There's a flag down as Bahr puts the kick through. 1 second to play in the first half.
Defense line up in the neutral zone. The point is good. 5 yards on the kickoff.
Okay, thank you, Ben.
So the lead goes to 23-10 Cleveland.
You know what's interesting about this lead?
What?
Newsome has not caught a pass, and Mike Pruitt has carried it less than 5 times, and they lead 23-10.
I don't think Logan has caught one either.
No, he has not. It's been Feature, Rocky Belk. Pruitt has carried it now 4 times for 18 yards. It's been Boyce Green, Rocky Belk, Ricky Feature.
So now the Browns will just try and prevent a long kickoff return and take a 13-point lead into the locker room. As relatively obscure a public figure. They just kick it short, and it's picked up and brought back nearly to midfield by Craig Bingham. Thinking about Noel, here's a guy who's been to 4 Super Bowls, won them all, and certainly his face and his name not as much of a household fixture as a Landry, a Lombardi, or a Shula, but he's known as